And good morning, everyone. As Kathy mentioned, my name is Doug Pennington, and I'm a regional manager at IMEC. Some of you may be familiar with my counterparts, Jim Hancock or Amy Clary or Dave Musgrave. Some of you all may work with him, and we have the same role within IMEC. I handle the northern territory of Illinois. And I have with us today, also from IMEC, Ray Zaganto, who is our partner relations manager, and he comes with a ton of experience and innovation, so he'll be chiming into the conversation as well. Unfortunately, he's dealing with a little bit of COVID right now, so we'll try not to lean on him too hard. You kind of make it a little easier for him. But anyway, I want to thank you all for attending this forum. I have to tell you, I'm so honored to be a part of this fantastic program that VIA is sponsoring, and I hope you take away from this meeting today, some bits of information you can use, either to help you put together your presentation for the Spark Awards, or just to give you some food for thought about things you might want to start employing within your business. And I'll tell you, going in, I'll just say I'd like to make this session a conversation. If it's just me for talking for an hour and a half, I guarantee people will be looking at their watches and thinking about what they need to do with the rest of the day, and I'll probably be one of them. So I'll be asking you to come off mute along the way to provide your input to the discussion, and I thank you in advance for your participation. So what is innovation? And where does it exist in your business? Manufacturers can innovate in various ways to improve their processes and products and their overall business. And I think sometimes when we think of innovation, what immediately comes to mind are the technical things like automation and robotics, Internet of Things, AI, 3D printing, augmented reality, virtual reality. And those things, those are all great. And, and if you're employing some of those right now, that's terrific. But, there's really so much more to innovation. So at this point, I'd like to start trying to get some conversation going right away. And I'm going to open this up. What are some other ways that innovation exists in your businesses? Anybody?
Well, from my perspective, innovation applies to the product itself. I mean, we want to be able to develop and do things that our competitors and other people's are not doing with their products, and be the best and first in the market.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, just to add on and build on, I think even throughout my career, innovation, we always think of product. But so often it might be process, it might be a bunch of other things. And actually, I think I was sitting yesterday in the economic outlook, and I was thinking about it, and it really is change with purpose, right? Any change with purpose could be viewed as innovation.
I love that. That's a great way to look at it. I mean, there's so many things that can be. I mean, like smart manufacturing. Integrating smart technologies and data analytics into manufacturing processes, enables better decision making. Things like predictive maintenance, quality control. That's in there. Supply. Yeah, go ahead, Doug.
Oh, with Flexco, we do have a couple different tiers there, and you're talking not about product. We can talk about some products that we've worked on as well, but when it comes to innovation in our facilities, and let's not just think factory, it's continuous improvement activities. So we've invested a lot this past year in getting yellow belts and green belts trained. We've had agile workshops where we've got people agile certified to use those tools to develop new ways to do things, faster, better, safer, cheaper ways to do things. All of those are innovations to our processes. And especially right now, I don't know about the rest of this group, but this is a downtime for Flexco as far as sales go. with, you know, somewhat of the recessionary activities that are happening out in the world. And rather than sitting on our laurels and just trying to go, you know, get by with what we have, we're using this time to innovate, to really invest in the processes in the company and the organization, so that when we come out of this, we're running ahead of the rest of the racers in the game.
Yeah, I love what you said about lean manufacturing, because, you know, I think some people think of lean manufacturing as not sexy when it comes to innovation, but, you know, lean principles focus on minimizing waste and maximizing value. You know, manufacturers can innovate by, you know, adopting lean methodologies and leading to streamline processes and reduce costs and improve quality. So it's definitely in there, and I think sometimes people don't think of it that way.
Yeah, and you may get automation in place that is an activity for innovation, but you can't automate a bad process. So still,
Yeah.
you have to go back and you have to smooth out your process so that it's predictable, and then you can put those type of innovative tools in place after you do that.
Yeah, so true, so
Hey,
true.
hey, Doug, I want to chime in because I mean, you guys, you were one of the winners in this category last year, and one of the highlights of the discussion that the team had with you was around how you kind of integrated innovation. You know, it's not just flyers on the wall. I mean, you really got to kind of drill down into the culture. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, and the rest of my team is in here as well, and they can chime in too. But it's innovation is I talked about, we've had a lot of people that have gone through Agile and Scrum training and the Lean training and whatnot. But you know, we're using it not only in our process design, but we're using it in our product design. We're using a lot of Scrum activities to develop products now. So where it was, you know, months and months and months before you even came up with an idea, and a lot of refinement before you even said, yeah, this might be a start. What we're doing is we're using a lot more of a fail forward, fail fast ideology. We try to get a supplier in, we try to get customers in while we're doing the Scrum exercise. And literally at the end of a week, we start out with a blank sheet of paper. And at the end of the week, we have a widget. And I say this, but in one case, it was a cart that was probably 3 foot by 4 foot by 36 inches off the ground, that had compartments and locks and fastener systems and things on it. That at the end of the week, we go, here's our concept, customer, what do you think? And then from there, you can start having iterative changes where you have very short-term goals. When you have the success of that short-term goal, you celebrate it, and then you go to your next short goal. And by doing that, we've been able to compress the development cycle significantly.
Awesome. Yeah, that's Doug, that's something I had slotted for you to talk about later on. So now you don't have to talk about that later on.
I'll just talk.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that.
No problem.
Kathy's like, oh, great, you gave him the mic.
But in any case, you know, other things, you know, where else does innovation exist in the business? I submit, you know, supply chain optimization is one place where it can exist. Sustainable practices, energy efficiency, just to mention a few. Any other ways anyone like to chime in as to how they're innovating within their business?
Yeah, I think you know, it is product based, but so often we think innovation has to, and I know Doug gave a great example where it doesn't, but so often we think it has to start with the customer and the ask. And I know on a particular product line over the last 2 or 3 years, taking COVID and all those constraints out of it, it was still the demand had increased drastically on a certain product offering that we had. And we were only able to produce, due to the cycle time of the process, only 8 units per day. And we had demand for a few hundred units per day. And so, you know, it started with the customer because the demand was created there. But the fact of the matter was, customer wasn't clamoring for anything different with the product, but we ended up redesigning the product just to improve throughput and get rid of that one process that was our gating item. So you talk about that. It was all internal, but it ended up allowing us to chase the market that was there. So
Yeah, that's a great example too of looking at, oh, do I even need this feature or whatever on the product? Is it creating value, or can I get rid of that bottleneck by getting rid of that?
Right.
I see Jordan is on. He's one of our lead innovators at Flexco, and he's done a lot with the shop floor. He's done a lot with connecting smart devices in the factory. Do you have any example, Jordans, of some innovations that we could talk about internally?
Yeah, I don't know if it's appropriate to share some slides, but I do have a few things briefly that I think are some pretty neat examples. Is it okay if I share the screen?
I don't see why not.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I'm not, stop me if I end up going too long here, but I'll keep it quick. So, are you guys able to see PowerPoint open?
You know what? Maybe I have to stop sharing. Hold on a second.
I see it now. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll go just through real high level with these quick. So one of the things we've done this year is to your point, Doug, on kind of innovation coming through lean and structured problem solving and bringing that into the culture is, we created these visual management boards in each cell that really allow anyone in the organization to see the performance of that area like in real time. So we have these TV screens on top that show all of the day-to-day production data related to that piece of equipment, what its runtime is, what its downtime codes are, a timeline of when it's on and off. And we use that to as we have team meetings, we use that data to identify gaps, drive continuous improvement opportunities at the tier 1 level, like in the production cell with the day-to-day operations team. So that's been really successful for us. And another point on innovation is it's not just looking at how do we improve this process of how we make something, but it also could be something of improving how do we improve the process of how we make decisions, right? So another thing we've innovated on this year is how we handle our tier 2 meetings, or how we meet at the functional operator or manager level. So we have this new meeting room that we put together that's got a lot of brainstorming space. But one of the challenges we found is that we had these meetings that would last for an hour, and it wasn't really clear what the agenda was, and everyone was just kind of filling the void in speaking, but it wasn't driving action necessarily towards the most urgent problems of the day. So I think one of the most innovative things we've come up with, and it's fairly simple. We just have this dynamic agenda that people populate prior to the meeting. So they click their functional area that they're responsible for. If everything is good in that area, they leave it green, and otherwise they highlight a severity of what is preventing them from meeting their goals that day. And so I think this one has been the most powerful for us because it's really highlighted the most urgent issues, got us focusing the conversation around those, but also taken that hour-long meeting, brought it down to 15 minutes, and also allowed us to filter those issues out. So it's not only more efficient, but it's more effective in helping us surface and resolve problems. So I do have more examples, but those are probably the two for me that are the most innovative process related improvements and really are fundamental layers of how we take those yellow belt and green belt trained employees and allow them to apply their structured problem solving skills to the day-to-day challenges.
This is awesome, Jordan. I love it because you can just, one glance and you can immediately identify where the issues are.
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, you don't have to go around asking a lot of questions. It's just, this is really good stuff. Thank you.
Yep. I have two more examples from some Kaizen events, if those are of interest, but otherwise, I don't want to, I know we've got others on the call as well. So.
All right. Well, I tell you what, I might come back to you on
Okay.
those.
Awesome.
Let me go ahead and get back into my shared screen. Okay. Can you see it now?
Not yet. There we go.
Okay. All right. Great. Well, great. This is great conversation. I think the main takeaway from this is I'm just trying to point out that, innovation comes in many, many forms. And bottom line, a manufacturer can win a Spark Award and not have a single robot in their building. And it's more about how you use innovation to improve your business and benefit your customers. And I think that's, really was brought out extremely well by all the conversations. So that's great. Moving on to the next piece, how does it impact your business? How does innovation impact your business? I'll throw out a couple of things just to start the conversation, but, competitive advantage. I mean, innovating products, services or processes, can give a business a competitive edge in the marketplace, and companies that continuously innovate, can stay ahead of their competitors, attract more customers, and so on. Another one, increased efficiency. I mean, innovation, often leads to the development of more efficient processes and systems. This can streamline operations, reduce costs, improve overall productivity. And speaking of productivity, enhanced productivity allows employees to focus on more complex and creative aspects of their jobs, and this can lead to higher productivity levels within the entire organization. So there's many more. What are some others? Open this up again. What are some other ways that innovation impacts your businesses?
You're on mute right now.
Sorry, I'm right next to the DuPage Airport, so it's sometimes great, sometimes bad. So I was muted.
I thought you were talking about me, Doug. I go, man, I just talked 10 minutes.
No, I think one of the things it does that and maybe I'll talk on a little higher 30,000 foot elevation, but it provides employees with hope, right? It really does. They see something new and different, and they want to be part of it. And it makes them want to be on the team and be proud to be on the team, that we're not just doing the same thing we're doing 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, but that the company's progressive and willing to look at new ways of doing things. And I think as long as you do that, even with customers, if they see that, they'll come with more ideas because they see that you're willing to listen and you're willing to change. So
yeah, absolutely.
It's definitely a great engagement tool.
mm-hmm.
You hit on it a bit, Doug, as well, and a few other comments have been in here, but it gives you the opportunity to either be first in market or best in market.
Yeah.
And those are the two positions you want to be in order to lead your environment. And by doing these innovative activities, and honestly, bringing the customer in is a key in my mind on new development, because we've released 3 products in the last couple of years that the customer came in and said, I want you to create a product that does this. And then we go through the Agile and Scrum activities with them, and we find out That's really not what you want. You want us to create a product that prevents that from ever happening to begin with, not just to fix it after it's taken place. And by doing that and really understanding the root concern of the customer is where we've gotten that first to market activity, because no one else, others have thought about, well, how can we make it easier for you to fix it? And we went to the degree of, let's not have it happen in the first place.
Yeah, that's great. That's perfect. It highlights how that voice of customer, which is the best practice, can make a difference, because addressing customer needs more effectively also enhances loyalty and gets more business.
Yep.
Another thing too, I think that's worth mentioning is innovation in the area of attracting talent. Innovative companies are often seen as exciting places to work. They attract top talent, are eager to contribute and be part of a cutting edge initiative.
So along that category, when we talk about innovation, it's also being innovative with your workspace too.
Yeah, probably three quick topics, or three topics to flow through today. The first one is
Oh, was I talking over somebody?
I don't know. Another voice came in. I'm not sure who it was.
Yeah, for talent attraction, our work environments have had to change significantly, and getting the voice of customer, which is our teammates, is also critical to develop engaging spaces that are attractive to talent. Because if you don't have that right now, you're gonna just have a revolving door. If you don't have employees that are engaged, that are feeling like they're giving back in some way, and that they have a space that they are comfortable contributing in. It's a lot different than when I started a few years ago in the career, where you just went in and that's what you had, and you went through and muddled with it and did the best you could.
Yeah. There's a ton of ways. I mean, one comes to mind: flexibility and adaptability. Innovating processes and strategies can make a business more adaptable to changing market conditions and allow them to pivot quickly in response to the new trends or customer demands. Hey, cost savings. I mean, that's one of the basics. Innovations in processes and materials or technologies can lead to cost savings in the long run. The list could go on and on. I mean, there's market expansion, risk management. There's so many ways it can impact the business. But did anyone else have anything they wanted to contribute on that part before I move on to the next? Okay. So how do you know what good looks like? In the manufacturing industry, determining what good looks like, can vary depending on the specific goals and objectives of your organization. However, good measures should not be qualitative. That's one thing I can just say right out there. They should be quantitative. There's several common metrics and indicators that can help you assess performance and quality of your innovation initiatives. Efficiency, for example, do you have metrics like production cycle time and downtime and overall equipment effectiveness, customer satisfaction, finding a way to monitor customer feedback in a measurable way, defect rate, lower defect rates, indicate higher quality. What are some other KPIs or metrics that you all are using in your business to measure the effectiveness of your programs?
One area from a new product side of things that we're using that's a little different. We started using a vitality score, And it's really analyzing how much of our business is coming from products that are less than 24 months old or 36 months old. And so that it's a different way of looking at it than strictly just looking at revenue and revenue only.
Yeah.
So how fresh is our portfolio offering? How, are we keeping it fresh for our customers? So
How do you, in what what's a good measure? I mean, how do you
we recently were acquired and by a billion-dollar organization, went from a small medium to part of a monster organization. Usually something in the 20% to 25% is a pretty good metric. Anything between 20 and 30, I think you're doing a lot right. And it depends on what your threshold is, if your goalposts are, if it's a 24-month or a 36-month, look back, if you will. So,
and what actions do you take if the number comes in low?
Well, I mean, obviously we have other initiatives, but we might recognize, hey, you know what, we're spending too much time defending the core and not enough time looking for new opportunities that fuel some of those new product ideas.
Right.
Or we're, so some of those kind of things. Are we spending enough time on the funnel of new opportunities? So,
yeah, great example. Great example. Any others?
Yeah, we talked about internal and external. So a couple indicators that we're using Net Promoter Scores, and we're doing that externally each quarter, where we're going out and surveying our customers to look at where we are as a net promoter. But we're also doing that internally, doing employee surveys each year. And then from that, we just finished out the annual survey. And what we've been doing is, on the things that we scored lower on, we're having employee roundtables and we started this year. And it goes back to having inclusion with our team members, so that, hey, this is where the comments are coming from. Can you come in and explain, what the opportunities are you see, and also, can you help us implement some of these opportunities, so that it's not just management that's creating this or understanding this in their own way, but we're getting firsthand feedback so that we can help improve our company. And improving our company helps with retention. Flexco hasn't had a retention problem, but we don't want one. So how can we continue to build our culture?
Yeah, awesome. That's a great example. I mean, there's go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna add on. Recently, in the last year or two, we've started using a Net Promoter. We've always done customer surveys, but the Net Promoter, I think, is interesting because it also highlights where your strengths are, and a lot of the strengths come out in the verbatim comments that we get from those surveys. And so what we've tried to do is look at even rather than, hey, we have to address these red areas or the areas that are being raised up as not well, but also taking a look at the strengths that our current customers really find value in, and making sure we're stressing those to new opportunities, because obviously, again, customers are finding value in that maybe we take for granted.
Yep.
Yeah. Excellent.
Sorry,
Excellent.
Doug, thanks.
No, that's okay. It's okay. And there's all kinds of KPIs that can be set up. I mean, there's basic ones, waste reduction, supplier performance, and compliance. I mean, but the key takeaway is that, for the Spark Awards, if at all possible, be able to back up your claims. It can be one of the key ways that judges determine, good, better, and best. So, think in terms of measurable metrics. All right, let me move on to the next slide. Talk about best practices a little bit. There's, as far as the judging is concerned, we look at 4 areas in the area of best practice. There's their approach, that's taken by the company, you know, how the company goes about learning, how it deploys innovation within its organization, and integration. You know, how is it integrated into the company DNA, basically. So yeah, we're going to take these you know, one by one. Let me go back to approach here. And you know, first one there, voice of the customer. You know, MTH will talk on this a little later on, so I won't go on, you know, too much about this, but you know, this is the process of capturing customer feedback and preferences. So why do that? You know, it can help, you know, it can help businesses make informed decisions about product development and customer service and overall business strategy and so on. It can identify specific challenges. So I we've already had some good conversation on voice of the customer, but I know some of you all really have put some very good systems in place. Anyone want to talk about their VOC initiatives? All right. Like I say, we'll be talking about this more a little bit later on, but you know, automation adoption, you know, are you integrating systems and technologies into the various processes within the facility? MPI process stage gate. There are so many approaches to tackling this animal. Does anyone here utilize a stage gate process or something like it?
Hey, Nikhil, is this one you could jump in on?
Yeah, sorry, we've been holding up because we got some landscaping and trying to like save everyone from the noise. So if you can hear that, that's what's going on. So yeah, to Doug's point, Lexco does employ a stage gate process.
Okay.
We've got our discovery phase, which is voice of the customer. Voice of the customer, of course, is important because you want to know you're solving the right problem, right? So voice of the customer isn't as simple as just asking the customer what their issue is. We do encourage our engineers, marketing employees to go out into the field and spend time with the customer and watch what they're doing, right? We like to say that this tool is like the most valuable tool you have to gather the data, right? Sit and watch them, what sort of problems they have, and that can sprout new ideas. After that, so once we define the problem correctly, we'll come back and we'll brainstorm with a wide group of individuals. So now we're at our like define phase, right, of the problem. So you got more engineers, but you also want to have a broad variety, right, of individuals, not only the technical individuals solving the problem. How is it going to be sold? How's it going to be packaged? How's it going to be maintained? So those individuals are all part of this brainstorming solution, as well as some other outside employees that can bring some variety to you know, the brainstorming process. Otherwise, you're very narrow in looking at technical solutions. Manufacturing phase, right? The next phase. And once we get ideas, we develop them, we've tested some. What does it take to manufacture it? Once we've decided on the 1 or 2 ideas that are high on our list, that further narrows down the product we'll end up releasing. And then, of course, it's our release stage gate. So the idea of the stage gate process, of course, is that you don't want to spend too much time and money running through this whole process if at any stage fail, right? And that comes, we'll talk about it later on, I believe, but we'll talk about failing fast. And that's a key aspect of the stage gate process. You want to fail early to minimize the time and investment that you will spend otherwise working on something that has like no future.
Yeah. How many Will, how many stages does your process involve? I mean, I've seen some only do 4 or 5 and some do 9 or 10, you know, and to really parse it down. So how many stages do you run your products through?
4.
4? Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Let me ask you on the gate entry exit criteria, do you have specific conditions or requirements that a project must meet to progress from one stage to the next?
Yeah, so typically we have, so whatever project manager, but regardless of whether it's a project manager or not, we will have a checklist, right, at each stage. So we're looking at a discovery phase. The checklist will be looking at market size, right? Does this have market potential? Do we have the technical capability of solving the problem that we've identified? And then is the need like there, right? So we like to say it's technical feasibility, business viability, and customer desirability. If you don't meet those three, there's no point moving forward, right? Any one
Right.
of those systems. And then yes, at different other stages, maybe let's say like manufacturing, right? What's the cost of manufacturing? Do we need new tooling? How much will that cost? Right. So again, you're looking forward to your potential potholes and make sure you can either address them, and if you can't, you have a plan to do so. Otherwise, you kill the project.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's great. I tell you that the thing I like about the stage gate process the most is the structure and the repeatability of it. Because once you have a good process set up with good exit entry criteria, then it's repeatable. Every time you bring in a new product, you can just kind of just keep that ball rolling. So that's great. That's great. Thanks for that input, Will. Appreciate it. Let me move on to the learning piece here. And learning, how are you as a company staying updated on industry trends and the latest technologies, being aware of advancements in manufacturing technologies, automation, sustainable practices, whatever, so that you can adapt to the changing landscape. Any thoughts on how you keep up with what's going on?
I would just add on that first bullet point, I think a lot of that information, used to come from face-to-face visits with customers, trade shows, those kind of things. And while a lot of that has resumed, the fact of the matter is, since COVID and the ability to have these kind of meetings, you don't necessarily find yourself where customers oftentimes don't want to necessarily see you face-to-face or feel like they don't have time because they feel like they can connect with you virtually. But as I always joke or talk to my team about, it's so much of the time, it's this information that they share walking into the meeting, on the way to the conference room, or, someone you bump into the hall that you can't get FaceTime with, that gives you some of those industry trends and latest opportunities and some of those kind of things. So, you have to get creative nowadays on the sales and marketing side of things and engineering in order to capture that data that might have been more natural before.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that kind of leads into the second bullet there: external partners and resources, collaboration with the organizations, government agencies, industry experts. There is all ways to gain more knowledge about what's going on out there.
We have this networking group in Chicago called the VIA. They've been very helpful.
I've heard of them.
You can bring people together and having the opportunity to network with folks that are in industries that you're in. Even better opportunities is if you get meetings at local facilities, and then afterwards there's a tour, a walk around that you can go through. And I'm not going to call it steal ideas. I'm going to call it gleaning, because gleaning is a lot nicer term, but you glean these opportunities from partner companies. And then still trade shows are extremely vital. Other industry type of shows, or if you do get out to a customer and you're doing a walk through a customer's site, you can pick up little things that they're doing that are exciting and innovative, and glean mercilessly. Just keep pulling these ideas in and testing them. And if they don't work for you, fine. maybe try something a little bit different, try it real fast and don't wait for it to be perfect, but get it out there and see if it sticks to the wall.
Hey, only one
Lean-
person invented the wheel, but a lot of people are still using it. So there's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly.
I like that word glean. That's terrific. I'm going to start using that. Next bullet, fast fail culture. I love this one. This is one of my favorites. What does that mean? Someone want to weigh in on how they view fast fail culture?
So sure, I can take this. So fast fail culture, right, is like a thing as we all know. You wanna make sure you kill the idea early, before you spend too much time investing, right, or money, and it's going nowhere. So identify those things that might hold it back at a very early stage. But what that requires of the company culture is encouraging that failure, right? Too often this thing of, well, so and so had like 10 wrong ideas, but you can spin that and say, well, they saved us money by making sure we didn't go down those 10 wrong paths.
Right.
So yeah, the culture.
It's a mindset, isn't it?
Exactly. It truly is a culture, right? You can have those brainstorming sessions and encourage multiple different ideas, but you obviously don't want to pursue each one and hence the fail fast, right? But you do want to encourage them to be broad. If you're too restrictive, and you don't have that culture, then you do stifle innovation. You do ask your engineers and others to play things safe because you're saying, when you start an idea, I want it to be, lead to success. I was told when I worked at a different company that was like more R&D focused, they had a specific R&D division, and the goal was that 1 out of every 10 ideas should be successful. If you were succeeding more than that, then we weren't pushing hard enough. So that sort of goal, can be tangible, may not be right for everyone, but that helps.
Yeah. It helps. I think the approach helps organizations iterate and improve their processes and services rapidly. I think it makes you faster because you learn from the failures and then apply them immediately to the next one. And as you iterate that over and over, you become much faster and more nimble. So it's great. Moving on to the long-term innovation plan. This is we look to see if innovation is set to the strategic goals of the company. This can include identifying areas for research and development, fostering a culture of innovation within the organization, creating roadmaps, for implementing new technologies. And so this visible evidence and signs that, the innovation is part of the culture of the company. The last one on there, customer feedback. We've talked a lot about that, and I think we'll maybe talk a little bit more about it later on. So I'm gonna skip on to the next area, deployment.
So real quick on long-term innovation plan, and it depends on what your structure is and whatnot. But in a lot of cases, for managers at our facilities, part of their yearly expectations is that they attend a certain number of trade shows, just making sure that we're getting folks out there to get another view, another perspective, to be able to see how other people are taking these solutions and using them. And in most cases too, and Will can speak to this, not only is it the manager of the department that's going out, but he's got a handful of people, or she ends up recruiting a few others to go with her, and we end up having that much more learning that takes place. And in Chicago, it's great because you get the IMTS, you get the PMA, you get the wire forming show, you get tons of these shows that are just massive, and and provide a lot of learning opportunities.
Hey, go along with that at Flexco, we also practice, which we started this year, was getting our teams together from each one of our facilities and throughout the world at our subsidiaries, and sharing our best practices and giving report outs once a month that triggers these conversations to be able to explore and look at different ways of doing things. So sometimes it doesn't take a trade show to go to or a group of people. Sometimes you can look well within your organization and reach out just to see what's going on on either side of the world.
Yeah, terrific. Rick, thanks for that. That was good input. Yeah, moving on to deployment. Post-launch survey. Is anyone doing post-launch surveys with their new products?
Sure.
I don't hear anyone volunteering, so maybe not. I think that the post-launch survey is crucial. I mean, I read that Apple iterates their iPhone every 4 to 6 weeks throughout its life cycle, and that's constantly through getting input on the product after it's launched, and in continually improving it during the life cycle. And that's amazing. You know, and moving on from that, R&D investment, that's kind of self-explanatory. Time to market. Kind of talking about Apple, shortening the product development cycle ensures that innovations reach customers quickly and gain a competitive edge. Does anyone know what Apple's time to market is? Just out of curiosity. I mean, it seems like they have a phone every 8 months, right? All right. And it does seem that way, but it might surprise you. Their time to market is 2 years. And it takes that long to develop a new phone, but what they have is they have multiple iterations going concurrently. And that's why they are able to continue to bring something out all the time, because they have multiples going. And they do that because they know that 2 years is too long. If you go 2 years between iterations, someone's going to come in and undercut you at some point. So they've set it up that way so that they can continually be, ahead of the game. But time to market is really so critical. I mean, what's the feeling out there? What do you think is when you have a new product development? What kind of time to market do you all see?
Well, it's quite a spread for us.
Yeah.
Like that cart that I told you about that they produce for doing maintenance activities, improving maintenance activities at big hubs. The time that we had the first meeting with the customer and we had a product that was sellable was about 3 months. We have had other products that like our i3, which was our first IoT product that we developed. Nikhil, you were probably a little bit more involved with it than I was, but it was a year and a couple months before we had the first item out there.
Yeah, and to your point, like I said, it's a widespread. We got from 3 months, typically talking about a year or two, but we've had some as long as like 8 years, right? And I'm talking about we had the idea, we just didn't have the technology or the manufacturing process. And they were kept alive because the idea was enduring.
Yeah, but it's clearly shortening that time to market it gives a competitive edge for sure. And anything you can do to streamline that, whether it be a stage gate process or some of those kind of define in NPD, MPI process, can really make a big difference. Next one down there is supplier collaboration. We talked a little bit about that, collaborating with hold on a second here. I've got a meeting announcement popping up on my screen. Right. I guess I'm missing that one. But anyway, collaborating with suppliers fosters innovation as well. And there's networking events, best practices sharing. Some manufacturers actually include suppliers in the MPI process. I don't know if anyone is doing that, but sometimes when you're trying to design for manufacturer, it helps to have the supplier on the front end of that, so that you can make sure that you've got the right product available when you need it. Let's move on to the next best practice, integration. We talked a little bit about aligning the company's innovation goals with its overall business objectives. Patent IP, we'll talk. I'd like to talk about this a little bit more if we have time, later on in the presentation. But research and development is an investment. Keep it protected, from imitation, or theft. Next bullet: robotics, AI. Robotics can automate repetitive tasks. AI can be utilized for predictive maintenance and quality control and data analysis, enabling, data-driven decision making. And this is a perfect lead-in. I'll call on Doug again, or Will, whoever wants to handle this from Flesco. But it's my understanding that you're attempting or trying to integrate AI into total predictive maintenance for your Elevate 13 device. This is fascinating. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So I can probably speak to it.
Nikhil, grab it.
So let me maybe sell the Elevate device a bit differently, and then I'll get to where the path will lead us to AI. So what that gives us is a lot of our products are very static products. There's no, they're not smart. We don't have data. And so when it comes to maintaining them, the way you find that out is by doing these walks, right? So it takes a lot of time for individuals to walk down these conveyor belt lines and determine if the product is ready to be replaced or not. You've got some history, but typically the best tool is your eyes, right in your ears. So to help with that, now that we've got sensors getting smaller, we've got all the technology, is our Elevate device. So what it's doing is it's giving us information in real time remotely, right? So we can see how a belt tensioner or some other product is behaving in some mine across the world. And we can tell when it's doing something different than it's supposed to be doing. So right now, we're not leveraging AI, but we're at the stage where we've collected baseline data and then we're looking for anomalies. And those anomalies just send out a signal and say, hey, you should probably go look at that install and see if something's going wrong, right? Might be an issue, might be something that we need to calibrate for. To your point, in the future, AI will do that, right? So once you get large enough data sets, that's where machine learning comes in, and it starts helping you sort through the data instead of having someone watch it on the screen and generate those alerts. So that's where we'll be going with it. That's the future of Flexco, not like most industries, right?
Yeah.
You will probably buy a hammer with some sort of sensor or AI built into it. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. That's really exciting stuff. The last bullet there, culture. We've sort of talked about that. Anything else someone would like to contribute on the integration innovation into the culture?
And this is a quote a lot of us have heard, but culture eats strategy for breakfast. And I see having it as part of the strategic plan, is critical. But if you haven't developed, if you're bringing in new technologies, new innovations that are streamlining your processes, And as a result, people are getting laid off or they're getting let go. You are going to see cultures start to fight those opportunities along the way. You really need to develop your culture in a way where they're finding these opportunities as being beneficial for improving the safety, the health of what they do, seeing the benefits of the improvements throughput wise, nobody comes in here and wants to be working on something and run into a problem and get that fixed and work on it, run into another problem. We all like things to flow. We like our work to flow. So, you know, if you can bring the culture, the people in to how these ideas are coming up or how the integrations are, and then have them see a positive outcome to the organization, then that's where you're going to get buy-in. And if you don't do that, if you don't have the culture, you are going to fail at innovation. People will make sure that you fail at innovation because it's no benefit to them, it's a detriment to them, and they're going to fight it.
Yeah, if it isn't in the culture, it's easy to find failure because, you know, nothing ever goes completely right 100% of the time. So
yep.
if someone wants to ding you, they can do it.
The flip side of that is, as they see improvements, they see benefits, they see
right.
the organization strengthen, then you've got advocates for it. You might have people coming in and saying, hey, part of lean and continuous improvement, let's work on this, let's find a better way for this. And then that's where it's a catalyst for innovation. Your culture helps you develop it.
Yeah, so good. Thanks a lot. That's great input. I'm just looking at the time here, and you guys are great, and all this conversation is good, but I think I'm behind now, so I may have to kind of compress this a little bit. But let's go ahead and go on to the next slide and talk about the innovation questions in just a little bit. In this one, what measures are you taking to capture voice of your customers in the innovation process? I talked to Brian Brown at MTH, and Brian, are you still on?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I apologize. I know you were trying to get a hard break at 10, and I've run a little bit long. I appreciate you hanging around.
No problem.
MTH was a finalist for last year's Spark Awards, and as I went through the judges' notes, I was struck by the high marks given MTH for their cross-functional team approach, and particularly their customer survey feedback loop as an important part of the product improvement process. So Brian and I talked a little bit last night, and hey, Brian, can you take a few minutes and kind of go through that process at MTH?
Sure thing. Yeah. First of all, myself and Greg Richter is kind of partner in answering the innovation questions. But yeah, I handle the sales side of things, the customer service side, and therefore, I guess, the voice of the customer. And by the way, getting ahead just a little bit, Greg works on making sure to integrate that into our product design and intentions. Anyway, by the way, I just want to mention that I've been really excited and inspired by the things I've heard here this morning. Got some great ideas, and like to have more people within the company sit in on this kind of thing. It's been great. But anyway, a lot of us do surveys, right? And we've been doing surveys for, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 years. I honestly lose track. And we always ask the typical questions. What's your overall satisfaction? Rate us with regard to quality of the product, experience when contacting customer service, delivery timeliness, contacting our warranty and returns department, and we even asked them to rate our new product or services that you've received from us. So we've been doing that for a long time, and we've been tracking it. I should have had maybe something I could put on the screen, but oh well. Anyway, we've been tracking. We've been tracking. I'd have to turn the blur off, I guess. We've been tracking the quantitative for some time, in those areas. But what really helped us, I think, turn the corner is when we realized, wait a minute, let's kind of benchmark ourselves. Let's rate ourselves and or compare ourselves to the industry So we went on to add questions regarding. We identify that the biggest complaints with pump manufacturers are, we're a pump manufacturer. Customer service response time, we hear it all the time. You get a computer, not a person, or you don't get a live person. And also delivery, we hear about that with regard to the pump industry in general. I think a lot of us are dealing with that right now. But anyway, we asked, how do we compare to those pump manufacturers, to our peers in customer service response time and product delivery? So that helps us, like I said, kind of benchmark how are we doing compared to the industry. And of course, we ask for feedback. Written. We allow for written feedback there on any of these questions. And we also added, what are some of the greatest challenges that you find dealing with our peers, pump manufacturers in general? And we learn a lot of, like I said, lead times, employee turnover, quality. But again, we ask, what are you dealing with? What are you experiencing when you talk to pump manufacturers in general? And then we ask them to hone in and tell us what's the greatest challenge when dealing with MGH. We want to hear these things. We want to rank ourselves, if you will, against our competition, and also, of course, make improvements. So then, lastly, we ask, if you were to recommend that we add a new product or service, what would it be? So we open it up to, what would you have us do differently if you could have some input? And some people say nothing comes to mind, and some I went down a hole there. I'll stop going down that one. You're welcome, Greg. He knows I tend to rattle. And any products that you'd like to better understand. Would you like training? Is there anything you feel like you're not adequately trained in? I should have mentioned we sell through a lot of distribution. We've got something like 250 active distributors. So we're asking our distribution partners, is there something else that you'd like to see trained in or clarified or what have you? So anyway, we ask these kinds of questions, and naturally, and this is the hard part. It used to be the hard part, but we assemble them into a an action list. Turn this into not just listening, but
Right.
taking action. So then we have we have an action list, and we basically drill down on that until we close the loop with the customer. So if it's training, whether it's virtual training, or we were fortunate enough to work with some of our Mexican partners when we were down in Mexico City a few months ago, and we were able to in person address their concerns and suggestions. So I guess that must be what the judge has identified as the things that help hear the voice of the customer and do something with it.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Brian. I was struck by what you said there at the end about taking action. I mean, because if you don't take action on the feedback you don't get additional feedback, do you?
No, close that loop. That's important.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
I might add one thing. I might add one thing here. One of the things we've done, and Brian almost got there, but we bring in something we've started fairly recently, bringing in our customers and offering a class, this School of Pumps, we call it.
Yep.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And we provide a training explainer to our customers, all our products, and we have presentations on what's up and coming, new product, what we're doing, different aspects of the company and industry that they may or may not have actually been exposed to, and even so, out of that, we've got all your check boxes on your customer inputs and involving them in the development process, verification, validation, all that stuff, making sure that we get what we want. But I found that during these classes, we have our sections, our customers, that things that you may not actually glean from the surveys and checks boxes and what have you, that come up to you and then, hey, what I really need is this. I would like your pumps to do this, where I have customers that come up to ask me these questions and no clue and no idea. And it's just something to do with the, being there, face to face. Sometimes they'll bring those things to you. So that class and bringing those customers in, I think is very valuable to us and catching their
awesome.
voice.
Good point.
Oh,
Thank you, Greg.
Great. Thanks, Brian. Greg, that was great. I'll move on to the next one. I see the clock is just ticking away here. This next one, I hesitate to ask this question because it might open into a whole bunch of other conversation, but I feel I need to. On the fail fast, approach. Like I say, I think it's a great approach, and I have a follow-on question to that. And you've probably heard all the expression "perfect is the enemy of good." Engineers have a tendency, and I'm an engineer, so I'm including myself in this comment. But engineers have a tendency to want to make things perfect before releasing it. How do you square this with the failing fast mindset within your organization? Does anyone kind of have some to weigh in on that?
I can see what Flexco does. So we have what we call minimum viable product, right? So it's not perfect. What's the minimum viable product that meets the customer needs? So to your point, that meets the least amount of goals that gets a product out there, because we know that we're going to iterate anyways. So the faster we get in the customer's hands, the faster they can critique that design, the faster we get the feedback, the faster we can work on Gen 2, right, or Gen 3, and so on and so forth. So minimum viable product is an important part of the fail fast.
Yeah. Terrific. Anything else on that before I move on?
Have you heard of the phrase GETMO? It's good enough to move on.
I have not. What is it, Kathy?
Good enough to move on. So it's kind of the law of diminished returns of,
right.
If you get to 80%, the time it takes to get from 80 to the 100 is often not worth the squeeze. So
yeah, that's great. All right.
And I would add that also it is some of that, it depends on the type of product you're dealing with. Some of our products, you have failure, what have you, but some of these things, depend on our product producing something for them that may be millions of dollars an hour, and failure is not an option in a lot of those. So we have to be careful with, if those failures occurs, yes, we fail fast, but we want to make sure we catch it, and we've tested things out before it actually ends up in our customers' hands and they tell us they failed.
Keep the failures in-house. Right. All right, good. Thanks. Good conversation. I don't know how much time we have for this one, and so I'll just throw it out there if there's anyone who wants to chime in. If you have a good process for protecting your intellectual property, and if you do, what does that look like? Anyone have anything there? Okay, well, let me go ahead, Doug.
What I would say is document. Keep a logbook as you're going through the development cycle with dates on it, so that you can go back, because even if somebody else comes out with something before you, if you've had the idea ahead of time and you can prove and document it, then you have some property rights, and figure out what you want to patent. The problem with patenting things is it gives your competitors a blueprint on what they can work around to get another product out that's similar. So find out if you really want, if it's something that is so critical that you need to have that patent. Otherwise, sometimes a trade secret should remain a trade secret.
Yeah. Good. I have a red arrow on this slide. and this will be a less general question, I guess, but the red arrow is pointing to the question on cybersecurity. Can anyone comment on what actions your company has taken with respect to cybersecurity?
Jordan, you've been involved with that process more, haven't you?
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I had my headset died, so I'm on the PC mic. But I think a lot of the actions we've been taking from a cybersecurity standpoint have to do with making sure that we have multi-factor authentication in place and our passwords are protected. I know from a connectivity standpoint and a networking standpoint, infrastructure, making sure you have silos there. That's like one of the good, or one place in the business where you want to have siloed infrastructure. So, for example, when we connected all of our machines to the internet to start pulling data, those are on a completely separate network. That's one way. So, even if something were to happen there, it doesn't touch any of our other systems. And then finally, having manual fail safes in place. Of we went through an exercise this year of okay, what happens if we had a cybersecurity event with our ERP software, right? So we went through and created a whole process and protocol and trained everybody on how to manually run the business if one of our key critical softwares, had a ransomware attack, for example. So I think you have to look at it from all different perspectives on, prevention, isolation, and then also, what do we do in the event that something occurs, and what's our backup plan?
Yeah, that's great. I and everyone may be, taking a good hard look at this, but if you're not, I urge you to give thought to how your company, will address cybersecurity going forward, especially if you're in the defense supply chain. I mean, we're moving towards a day when companies will have to meet specific cybersecurity criteria to be allowed to sell into the defense supply chain. And if your business is heavily dependent on that, and that's a business ending proposition if you get shut out of that. So, look at that closely. But even if you're not in the defense supply chain, just keeping your data safe, keeping your secrets safe, invest some time in cybersecurity. So anyway, good discussion. I appreciate everyone. I mean, so many good contributions from the group here. I appreciate all that. So we'll move towards wrapping this thing up here. Let me get to this final little bit I'll leave you with, and it's, from a judge's perspective, is you're participating in the Spark Awards. What do we look for? What, from our perspective, what are we really checking and making sure happens as you review the presentations? First thing I'd say right off the bat, be able to back up your claims. If you check a box on the survey that says you do something, be prepared to support that. Now, in every one of these things I participate in, there's always one judge. I'm not going to say who it is. It might even be me, but there's always one judge who's going to say that something wasn't covered that was where a box was checked, and they might ask for how are you addressing that? So I just say, just be prepared to to back up everything. It may not be part of your presentation, but at least think through whether or not, how you would answer a question if someone asked something that you're not covering in your presentation. Try to incorporate examples of best practices, and if you do one of them well, flaunt it. I mean, judges remember and report on good examples of best practice. So that's a key thing. Just a minute here, I moved on too fast here. Still too fast. Okay. team-based presentation. If at all possible, try to do this. I mean, one of the keys to successful innovation in a company is for it to have an innovative culture, as we talked about today. I mean, this means cross-functional participation. So to the extent that you can convey that by presenting as a team, that's always good. Presentations. This probably doesn't require a lot of explanation, but to me, the value in presentations is in the structure. Making sure all key points are covered and nothing is left out. I've seen people exceptionally good at, off the cuff winging it. But invariably something gets omitted. I've done my share of wing presentations, and it seems like every time afterwards, I remember something I meant to talk about that I didn't. Having a presentation can help keep you on track. So it's just, I think it's a good way to go. And the final one, preparation, kind of like I said before, be able to back up your claims with examples, make sure you've got everything covered to the best of your ability, make sure you cover all your key strengths, be clear and concise. So those are the keys. Anyone have any questions or comments on any of these things on this slide? Okay. Value add resources. Here's some resources for you if you're interested. The link you see there is on the IMEC website, and there you'll find a plethora of white papers, case studies, articles, webinars on many different topics, but also innovation. The Harvard Business Review articles and the PMI case study I mentioned there, I can send those to you. I have them. So if you're interested in those, just shoot me an email and I'll send those through to you. The book, I have it on this slide because I've met with the author and seen him present, and because it's oriented towards small and medium-sized business, I think it's great. But there are a million books on innovation available. Just Google the top 20 and you'll see books there written by heavyweights, like Peter Drucker and Clayton Christensen and others. So there's a ton of resources available out there. Does anyone have any other reference material that they just love and want to share with the group? Okay. Hearing none.
I got one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's an HBR, but I think the author's name is Clayton Christensen.
Clayton Christensen. Yeah, he's a major player in innovation. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's got some great stuff out there.
Yeah. Clayton Christensen has several books on the subject as well. And if you Google the top 20, about probably 3 or 4 in the top 20 are his. So yeah, he's really, really good. So look him up. Like I said, there's lots of information available, and take advantage of it. So that's a wrap. Wow, 10:28. How about that?
Man.
So I
Great job,
thank
guys.
you all. I appreciate everyone's time and participation. I mean, a lot of great conversation, and I hope you found it valuable. But before we close out, are there any questions or comments anyone has? Last chance.
I have one question here. One of the points here on the survey, it has to do with intellectual property. One of the points asks if the company is ISO certified with respect to intellectual property. Is there an actual ISO standard for protecting intellectual property, or is this something we just have to intertwine within I'd say our ISO 9000 standard?
My gut reaction to that would be that it's intertwined in the standard ISO, but I could be wrong. Hey, Ray, do you have any knowledge on that? Do you?
Not yet. I was Googling it while we're talking. So.
As far as I know, it would be intertwined in as much as you want to create a process and document it and follow it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Good point. If
Yeah,
you say you do
yeah.
it, you got to prove it. So,
Right. Right.
Very well.
Okay. Good question. Okay, Kathy, is there anything you want to add? I think we're pretty much done.
Oh, that's great, guys. Thank you so much for being part of this. You shared so much and we really got so much great information out of it. And Doug, thanks for reminding me, I should say Doug too. Thanks for reminding me to record.
No, he's Doug one.
He's
one.
Doug one. Sorry. So, but thanks so much, guys. What a great session. One reminder we've got coming up, our next forum is on culture. And that will be on the 17th. You can register on the VIA website, and we'll be having, I think Jim Hancock is leading that one. Does that sound right?
I think you're right, Kathy.
Yeah, but we'll have another good session. So thanks again. Don't forget to go to that new.viaspark.org. If you forget the name of it, just go to the main VIA website, click benchmarking, and there's a link right there, and get your company started so that you can start looking at those questions and start implementing those into your team meetings and getting that going, because a lot of times people wait to the last minute. And I gotta say, it's a whole lot easier if you can chunk it off one category at a time. So anyway, thanks again for all that you guys do to contribute to help the greater group. And we really appreciate you. So have the greatest day.
Same here.
thanks everybody.
Take care.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Woohoo!